Welcome back to Lair Academy. It's Mickey again. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how to create an administration backend for a newsletter widget. In the previous videos, we set up email validation as well as verification. And when the user entered an email address that wasn't signed up, we entered them into the database, as well as we used Mailgun and set it up so that they can be actually sent an email. They can also verify their email so that they can say that they want to subscribe to the newsletter. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the administration part of our newsletter widget. First, let's create a new layout underneath Resources, Views, Layout. We'll make a new file and save it as admin.blade.php. Let's copy in what we have for our existing layout. Because this is just a widget, we're just going to change a few things in this administration layout itself. And with the title change, let's save this and create a new folder in our views, and let's name this administration. And finally in here, let's make a new file and we'll save this as index.blade.php. With a little bit of copy and pasting from our previous file, we'll just extend our admin and have some basic bootstrapping here. Inside our controllers, I'm going to make a new folder and call it administration, and then I'll make a new file and I'm going to call this file administration controller.php. I'll just take a snippet from our newsletter controller and paste it in. Now, just to change a few things here, we are no longer in controllers, we're in controllers administration. We're going to keep the app user request and request the same. And finally, let's change the newsletter controller to administration controller. Now, I'm not going to worry about any of the authentication stuff as this is just a little demo, but what I will do is I'll create our first little function here. I'll just call this method index, and what we're going to do is return a view, and we're just going to say administration.index, and in this view, we're going to return some data. So we'll pass in an array, and let's pass in the users variable, and we'll say we want the user all. Actually, let's order by email and make sure that we get those users. Now, before we head back to our view, there's one thing we need to do, and that is in our routes file. If we check out our routes file, we don't have a route currently defined for that. So I'll just put in a comment here for administration routes. And instead of doing a regular route, let's actually do everything inside a group. So we'll say route group. I'm going to prefix this group with administration, so all of our URLs have to start with administration. Next, we'll change the namespace to administration with a capital A. And inside our function, we'll define all of our routes. Now this namespace is here because inside this folder, this is where we're going to load up the controller. So with that being said, let's create our first route, which is just a simple get, and we're just going to have nothing in the get parameter, so it's just going to be administration. We'll load up the action from administration controller, and the action we're going to load up is index. Now when we give this a name, we can name it something like index. However, you may already have an index somewhere else. What we can do in the group is we can prefix every name that we have with something like admin or administration, and we could add a period or a semicolon, whatever you want in here. So this would actually become administration.index. So doing it like this just keeps things more clear and also helps keep things organized. Now let's save everything and let's try and access this new route. So inside Chrome here, let's go to /administration. And it looks like I have not put the correct namespace for the actual controller. If we take a look at the administration controller, we're trying to extend the controller, but we're in a different folder. So we have to import this. So we'll say app http controllers and then controller. And that will fix that. Switching back to Chrome, if we refresh, you can see that our template's now working. However, we're not actually displaying any of the data that we're passing in here. So let's switch back to our template and apply some basic Bootstrap classes. Now I've skipped ahead a little bit, and you can see here we have a basic Bootstrap template, which is 2 columns, one for the email address and the other one for whether or not the email has been verified. Now we'll create a table body, and we're going to say for each of our users And remember, this variable users is coming from our array. So we'll say for each of our users as a user, we're going to have a table row and then 2 table datas. The first table data is just going to be the user's email. And actually, you know what? Let's put this inside a mail to tag. So we'll say mail to the email, and we'll also end it there. And the next thing that we're going to do is we can write a simple logic statement to check whether or not the email is verified. We can do this by saying if, and then passing the user variable to say if the user email verified is equal to true. Well, let's use font awesome. So we'll just create a check mark, which I believe is a tick, and we'll set the text to success. Otherwise, if it's not verified, well, let's use a red X. In our case, I believe it's set to times, and we'll use text danger. So let's give this a save and see what happens in Chrome. So you can see that we have the email address here, but I'm missing the verified one for successful. So let's just change that to check. So now you can see we have someone who is verified, their email, someone who's not verified, and we could also email this user if needed. Now the only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a class of text right to our last 2 columns, and I'll make the email address a little bit bigger, let's say 80%. Let's just check this again to make sure it looks okay. And yeah, you know what, that looks pretty good to me. And with that, that finishes this video. Hopefully we'll see in the next one where we learn to quickly export just the data that we have here. Nothing too fancy, but we'll take a look how to do that. Thanks.